All
All right.
right. Las Vegas Raiders up next. This is one of the more exciting ones, I think. So they fired Josh McDaniels, um, and then hired Antonio Pierce, which is they by hired I just mean they removed the interim tag. And I know in your description here you said that Luke hates the Raiders for some reason. This is actually I'm coming around on them. I hated them because of uh, kind of just because they let Derek Carr linger in the organization for so long, um, and they just kind of accepted it and didn't see a problem with it. And then also when Rich Bisaccia, I mean, they hired John Gruden. They went through all that weird stuff to bring John Gruden back, and it was just, it didn't really make a lot of sense. And then whenever he got fired, that whole season was messy. I mean, think of all the turmoil they went through with the John Gruden firing because of the emails and all that. That was when Henry Ruggs killed a person, um, and went to jail.
Damon Arnett.
Yeah, Damon Arnett, I think, also killed someone.
Nah, I
So
think he just kept pulling out guns, but
a
a
little John
jaw
Morant
situation.
situation, yeah. But I think he was a little bit more extreme than what Ja was doing. But um, I mean, yeah, there was so much turmoil, and they made the playoffs that year with Derek Carr as their QB, and Rich Bisaccia led the way, and they kicked him to the curb for Josh McDaniels, who has never had success without Bill Belichick ever in his life. Um, and that didn't sit right with me after that, and I kind of just hated him. I wished the worst upon him here. Which don't get me wrong, I'm glad because Rich is now, a proud Packer, and I love him. But this has a chance to save the organization. I mean, you talk to anyone in that locker room, whenever Josh McDaniels was fired and Antonio Pierce took over, it was like a flip of the switch. Like vibes changed, play styles changed. I mean, you could see they had juice in the second half of the year. They beat some good teams down the stretch. They had that juice with them. Antonio Pierce, I mean, he's just beloved by the players. I have I have as great as an A minus, so a little bit higher than what Cam does. I love the hire. I love that they're sticking with a guy who had success at the end of the year, a guy who the players love, and keeping that consistency and not trying to go out and get another big name that probably won't work out. Mark Davis learning from his mistakes. Um, not, I, I don't know if he's like one of the best owners or one of the worst. But I mean, he's fluctuated between the two. I know throughout pretty much his entire tenure. This is another team that needs a quarterback, though. I think pretty much every team on this list, besides the next one we're getting ready to talk about, has a lot of QB questions, and this is no different. I don't know what they're going to do because they're not really high in the draft. I think they're probably somewhere in the 12 to 15 range. Um, in the draft. I don't know exactly what it is. So that's not going to really be enough to get you one of the top QBs that you want. So if they're going to have to go out and sign someone or roll with Aiden O'Connell or, potential lower round draft pick this year, which,
AOC.
yeah, with AOC. Um, so I don't know what that entails. There might not be a lot of immediate success with this team, but I think it's a long term hire. It's a safe hire because the guys are going to play for him. They're going to get up for him. He's kind of like a Dan Campbell in a way, if that makes any sense. Maybe not quite as like, I mean,
Rah rah.
emotional as Dan Campbell. Yeah, yeah. Like Dan Campbell, he's emotional about it. But I mean, this is a guy who he loves football. He loves just his guys. He'll go out there and he just wants to win for the guys. Guys want to win for him. And I think he'll create a good culture around there in Vegas with the Raiders. And I mean, obviously QB, you got to fix that. I don't know. I think Russell Wilson has been rumored to go there, which that probably wouldn't be the best fit. If I mean, you're talking about building a locker room and good vibes with Antonio Pierce, and then you bring in Russell Wilson into that. Probably not a good mix. Um, I would think probably a guy like I don't know who else is out there on the QB market, but like Baker potentially. I think he would be a perfect fit for this team. Honestly,
Oh
I mean,
my
imagine
god.
that. But then I would fully be back in on the Raiders. I mean, rolling with Antonio Pierce and Baker Mayfield next year, I would they would go from being bottom three teams that I root for to probably top 10 instantly, maybe top five. Uh, But yeah, I mean they have some pieces. They have some superstar players. Obviously on the defensive side, they got Max Crosby. Offense, they got Devonte Adams and Josh Jacobs, great running back. So
Well,
we'll
he's on
see
the
if they can
market.
kind of get. They've had kind of a stink on them, being a criminal organization, making a lot of weird first round picks that don't turn out. Um, they've had this stink on them for a while, and I think this is kind of the changing of the guard where they can start to build some consistency.
Yeah, I had a B plus, as you mentioned here, and I gave this a B plus because simply it was the right thing to do. And we just talked
Mm-hmm.
about Rich Bisaccia and that whole ordeal, and everybody being like arms up in the air, like, what in the hell are you doing with not hiring Rich when that all happened? Would Bill or Vrabel maybe have been a better hire here? Maybe, probably. But Pierce definitely earned his shot this season once McDaniels was let go. We talked about the flipping of the switch. We talked about the vibes. We talked about, how the players were playing for him when he got, that interim tag when McDaniels was finally let go. And I just hope he makes the most of it because we finally get this guy, an interim guy for the Raiders that does get hired on to be the guy. You just kind of hope it works out this time. And I also just think I hope it works out because, and apparently, you think or you feel like you will support it working out too if it does. I just think the NFL is more fun when the Raiders are good, and it's been pretty rare actually during our lifetime when they've been like actually good. Like in terms of when we've been able to watch games competently, they
Yeah.
haven't really been good. But they are like it's really fun when they're good, especially like when they were in the black hole in Oakland. But it would also would have been awesome seeing Emperor Belichick take over the Death Star in Vegas. I think that's kind of like a fantasy dream when you think about it. It just would have matched up and paired up so well. But really,
Tom Brady, part
Antonio
owner.
Pierce in the desert, if they can find a quarterback, it's going to be fun in Vegas if they can find a quarterback. That's just how it is. That's
Oh
just
yeah.
Vegas. So I just think it's fun when the Raiders are good. The Charles Woodson days. I just miss some of that stuff. It's cool. So I like the hire. I think he's a good football mind, more of a defensive guy. But yeah, they just need to find quarterback, like we've talked about most teams on this list. So
Yeah.
um,
That's kind of the key here.